Welcome to Sci-Fi Tales Adventure Rocket. 4 thrilling sci-fi stories and cosmic adventures. Subscribe now. Bell. He raised her broken spear to protect her. Unaware the ancient law had made him her chosen one. The war drums thundered like a second heartbeat, shaking the valley. Dust rose in waves as thousands of feet pounded the earth. The Velari warriors, tall, radiant-skinned beings etched with glowing sigils, formed a living wall of spears and shields. They were born for battle. Kale was not. He stood among them awkwardly, a human from distant Earth, thrust into their conflict after surviving a raid that had destroyed the trading caravan he traveled with. The Velari tolerated him out of necessity, not respect. To them, he was slow, fragile, an outsider with no runes of power glowing on his skin. Yet here he was, gripping a scavenged sword, surrounded by gods of war. And at their center was Ceres, daughter of the High Chieftain. She wielded her spear like a bolt of lightning, her movements flowing with a deadly grace Kale could barely follow. Where she fought, enemies fell. Where she stood, the Velari rallied. But even lightning could be broken. The breaking of the spear. The enemy surged again, a mercenary horde from the ash wastes. Hulking brutes with jagged armor crashed against the Velari line. Kale struggled just to stay alive, ducking under wild swings, blocking blows that rattled his bones. He saw Ceres locked in combat with a giant of a man wielding a cleaver almost as tall as Kale. Their weapons clashed again and again, sparks raining. She parried, twisted, struck, but on the next blow, the cleaver came down with such force that her spear snapped. The sound echoed, sharp and terrible. The broken shaft fell from her hands. Her weapon, her honor, was shattered. The brute raised his cleaver for the final strike. Kale moved before he thought. He dove forward, scooping up the jagged half of her spear. The weapon was cracked, flickering with dying runes, but he raised it anyway, thrusting it between Ceres and death. The cleaver struck. The shaft shuddered in his grip, but it held. Light flared from the runes, brighter than before, crawling like fire across the wood and into Kale's hands. He gritted his teeth, muscles straining, and shoved the brute back just far enough for Ceres to recover. She ripped her dagger free and drove it into the enemy's throat. The giant collapsed, lifeless. Kale gasped, dropping the spear, expecting Ceres's wrath for daring to touch her weapon. But instead, she stared at him with wide eyes, not of anger, but of something close to fear. Around them, the Velari warriors froze. Whispers swept through the line. The ancient law. What did I do? Kale asked, still panting. Ceres's voice was tight, her golden eyes locked on him. You raised my broken spear. I didn't want him to kill you. You don't understand. Her tone hardened, carrying both awe and dread. The law of the first blades binds us now. Kale frowned. Law of the what? She stepped closer, her presence like the heat of the sun. When one warrior's spear is broken, and another raises it to protect them, the ancient law declares them chosen. Bonded. Shield and spear, forever tied. Kale blinked. That sounds like a very complicated way to say, thank you. Her jaw clenched. It is no jest. From this moment, you are my chosen one. My protector. My equal. The Velari nearby murmured louder, scandal rippling through them. A human, unmarked, unblooded, bound to the chieftain's daughter? It was unthinkable. Kale raised his hands nervously. Look, I didn't mean to sign up for whatever this is. I just didn't want to see you cut in half. The law does not care for intent, she snapped. The bond is sealed. Before Kale could argue, another wave of enemies struck, forcing them both back into the fight. But from that moment, something had changed. His clumsy movements, usually a burden, seemed to flow in strange rhythm with hers. When he stumbled, she covered him. When she faltered, his blade was there without thought. The bond had taken hold. Aftermath. When the battle ended, the Velari returned to their camp, weary but victorious. Kale tried to slip away quietly, hoping the whole Chosen One talk would be forgotten. It wasn't. Ceres confronted him by the fire, her face set in stone. You must understand the weight of what you've done. I told you I didn't. She silenced him with a glare. Our ancestors forged the law to bind souls together in battle. When one warrior raises another's broken weapon, they swear, knowingly or not, to fight as one. To die as one. You cannot walk away. Kale rubbed his temples. So I'm stuck? Just because I picked up a stick. That stick is a sacred heirloom of my line, she snapped. Then, softer, and yes. You are bound. Kale sighed. Great. I can barely hold a sword without tripping, and now I'm, what? Half of a legendary duo. Her eyes softened just slightly. Then you will learn. For if you fall, I fall. And if I fall, you fall. Training the Chosen. The days that followed were grueling. Ceres drilled him mercilessly, forcing Kale to spar, to run, to repeat movements until his muscles screamed. At first, he was hopeless. He stumbled, dropped weapons, and cursed his own clumsy hands. The Velari warriors jeered openly. But the bond whispered to him. When he stood near Ceres, his instincts sharpened. He began to sense her movements before they happened, stepping where she needed him, striking when her guard was open. Slowly, painfully, he improved. One night, as they rested by the fire, Ceres studied him. You fight better when you stop thinking. When you trust the bond. Kale gave a tired laugh. Thinking's never been my strong suit. Her lips twitched, almost a smile. Perhaps that is why the law chose you. The trial of the bond. Their bond was soon challenged. A rival warband, furious at the idea of a human being bound to the chieftain's daughter, demanded proof. The trial of the bond, a sacred duel fought by pairs of chosen ones. If Kale and Ceres failed, their bond would be declared false. The trial was held beneath the twin moons. The clans gathered in a wide circle. Their opponents, seasoned Velari warriors, moved with practiced unity. Kale's stomach churned. I'm going to get us killed. Ceres gripped his shoulder. Her eyes burned with fire. Not if you trust me. The battle began. Their enemies struck like a storm, but Kale and Ceres moved together, awkward at first, then smoother, their rhythm locking into place. He blocked a strike meant for her. She loosed an arrow past his shoulder that felled his foe. Step, strike, turn, each motion echoing the other. The bond sang through them. Finally, with a cry, Kale drove the reforged spear into the ground, pinning their opponent's blade, as Ceres's arrow found its mark. The duel ended in stunned silence. The bond was real. The law had chosen. Epilogue. From that night, no Velari dared question them again. Kale, once dismissed as weak and clumsy, stood beside Ceres as her chosen one. The bond was strange, inconvenient, and terrifying, but it was theirs. Kale still didn't understand why the law had chosen him or what it meant for the future. But as he stood by the fire, feeling Ceres's steady presence at his side, he realized something. Perhaps the law hadn't cursed them. Perhaps it had given them both exactly what they needed. And when Ceres handed him the reforged spear, glowing once more, Kale raised it without hesitation, not as an accident, but as a vow.